quiet English town, there lived a young woman named Gladys Aylward. Gladys wasn't rich or famous, nor was she particularly strong at all. She was just a small, determined woman with a very big dream. Gladys believed God was calling her to travel to the faraway land of China to help the people there, especially the children who had no one to care for them. But following this dream wouldn't be easy. When Gladys applied to a missionary organization to help her to go to China, they turned her down. "You don't have enough education," they said. "You're not qualified." Most people would have been discouraged, but not Gladys. She knew in her heart that God had called her, so she decided to find another way. Gladys worked hard cleaning houses and saving every penny, and she kept on praying, "God sent me to China." Finally, after many years, she had just enough money to buy train and ship tickets to China. The journey was long and difficult. She traveled across Europe and Asia through dangerous territories all by herself. There were times she was scared and hungry, but Gladys kept going. She believed that God was watching over her. In 1932, after a long, arduous journey by sea and land, Gladys arrived in the Chinese province of Shaanxi. There she began working with a fellow missionary, Jenny Lawson. Gladys helped manage the Inn of the Sixth Happiness. But this wasn't just any inn. It was a special place where Gladys and Jenny would tell visitors stories from the Bible. Gladys wasn't content to stop there. Her heart broke when she saw children abandoned in the streets with no one to care for them. She began taking them in one by one until her home was filled with laughter and love. It wasn't glamorous work. It was demanding, humbling, and often heartbreaking. But Gladys was determined to be faithful, to pour her love and care into the children she had been called to serve. The children loved her, and they liked to listen to her telling them some Bible stories. It was so peaceful. Everyone was filled with joy. But one day, everything changed. In 1938, war broke out and the Japanese army invaded China. Shaanxi was no longer safe and the orphanage was in great danger. Gladys knew she had to protect the children no matter the cost. She made a brave decision. She would lead over 100 children on a long journey through the mountains to find safety. With no other options and no clear way forward, Gladys made the bold decision to lead the children on a perilous journey through the treacherous mountains to find safety. The journey ahead would be grueling and the odds were stacked against them. But Gladys had one thing, a deep, unshakable trust in the God who had called her to this mission. She knew that He would provide for them, even when the road ahead seemed impossible. One day, they ran out of food. The children were weak and hungry, and Gladys didn't know how much longer they could survive. So she knelt on the ground and prayed. Dear God, we need your help. Please provide for us. And do you know what happened? Out of nowhere, a group of Chinese farmers appeared, carrying baskets of food and water. They didn't know Gladys and the children were there, but they had exactly what was needed at that exact moment. Gladys smiled, knowing that God had answered her prayer. This wasn't the only miracle. Time and again, when things seemed impossible, help would arrive. A kind stranger would offer them shelter, or they would find a safe path where they thought they were lost. Every step of the journey, Gladys felt God's presence guiding them. After many days and nights, the group finally reached safety. The children were tired but unharmed, and their smiles were full of relief and joy. The children were fed, their spirits lifted, and Gladys knew that God had miraculously protected them. The whole journey had been a testament to God's provision, His faithfulness, and the power of trusting Him even when all seemed lost. Even after the war, Gladys didn't stop her work. She continued to care for children, teach them about God's love, and help the people of China in every way she could. Her story traveled around the world, inspiring others to trust God even in the hardest time. Through her faith, Gladys demonstrated that God's provision is not just a theory, it's a living reality. Even in the face of impossible odds, she saw the hand of God move in miraculous ways. Her story is a powerful reminder that no matter how dire the circumstances, when we walk in faith and trust God fully, He will always provide what we need, and often in ways that leave us in awe of His goodness.
At the end of Gladys Aylward's ministry, she had made significant lasting contributions to the people of China. Her later years were marked by both challenges and triumphs, as she continued to serve despite the tumult of World War II and the Chinese Civil War. Orphanage and rescue work. One of Aylward's greatest achievements was her establishment and management of an orphanage in Shaanxi, where she cared for hundreds of abandoned and orphaned children. During the Japanese invasion of China, she demonstrated incredible bravery by leading a group of over 100 orphaned children on a perilous journey to safety, crossing mountains and evading enemy soldiers. This harrowing escape helped save their lives and earned her widespread admiration. Culture integration and leadership. Throughout her ministry, Aylward worked to bridge cultural gaps, learning the Chinese language and customs, which allowed her to gain the trust and respect of the local population. She was deeply involved in promoting practical welfare and education, teaching local children, and assisting in the development of the community. Post-war challenges and return to Britain. After the end of World War II, political instability in China, including the rise of communism and the growing tensions of the Chinese Civil War, led to Aylward being forced to leave the country in 1950. Despite this, she remained committed to her work and continued to serve others through various missionary efforts. Later work in Taiwan and other ministries. After returning to Britain, Aylward continued her missionary work and spent some time in Taiwan, where she helped start new Christian initiatives. She also gave speeches and raised awareness about the plight of children in war-torn areas, leaving a lasting legacy in the missionary world. By the time of her death in 1970, Gladys Aylward had profoundly impacted the lives of many, particularly through her unwavering commitment to orphaned children and the local Chinese communities she served. Her legacy as a courageous, selfless missionary endures, and she remains an inspiration for many in the field of humanitarian work and especially global mission.